Football is a violent sport, which is what makes evaluating players still in high school so difficult. With how prevalent injuries are at all levels, it's tough to predict who will actually make it to the NFL. That's what makes things like the USA Today All-USA High School Football Team so intriguing. These young men were among the best of the best, but many of them never found NFL greatness. Today, we're taking a look back at the 2004 USA Today All-USA team. However, we have to do things a little differently. The 2004 squad was the first to introduce a second team roster, upping the total number of players to 48. I don't know about you, but I don't really want to make this into a 2-hour video, so before diving into the first team, here's a few quick hitters from the second team. Greg Paulus, quarterback. I'll talk about Paulus much more in depth in a later video because he was also a member of the 2005 McDonald's team. Regardless, he gave up football to play college basketball at Duke. He started for 3 years, averaging about 10 points and 4 assists. As a senior, he fell out of the starting lineup and his numbers tanked. He then transferred to Syracuse, but switched to college football for a season, throwing for 2,024 yards, 13 TDs, and 14 interceptions. He had a few tryouts with the Saints, but never made it to the NFL. He then started coaching basketball back at the college level and is coaching at Niagara University as of 2025. Marlon Lucky, running back. Lucky attended Nebraska for college ball, growing into a solid starter by 2006. The two-time second-team All-Big 12 player wasn't selected in the 2009 draft, but did a training camp with the Bengals before playing in several lower-level leagues and hanging up his sneakers in 2013. As of 2025, he's working in sales in California. Patrick Turner, wide receiver. Turner had a solid college career at USC, peaking as a senior with 49 catches for 741 yards and 10 scores. The Dolphins picked him in the 3rd round of the 2009 draft, but cut him after the preseason. Turner then signed with the Jets, where he spent 3 years as a backup wideout, totaling 10 catches for 122 yards and 1 touchdown. After the 2012 season, he was out of the league and has stayed out of the public eye ever since. Henry Melton, defensive line. Melton made the list as a defensive lineman, but he started his college career as a running back at Texas. Over 2 years, he posted 625 yards and 16 touchdowns, largely working as a short yardage back. In 2007, Melton switched to DT and excelled, which led to the Bears picking him in the 4th round of the 2009 draft. Melton spent 6 years in the NFL, largely with Chicago. He totaled 22.5 sacks and 29 tackles for loss. His best season came in 2012 when he made the Pro Bowl. However, a serious knee injury in 2013 hampered him throughout the rest of his career, and Melton retired in 2016. In 2025, he had a serious heart ailment, but had successful surgery, and as of this video, looks to be well on his way to a full recovery. Geno Hayes, linebacker. Hayes was a solid, though undersized linebacker at Florida State. He grew into an All-ACC player in 2007 and entered the 2008 draft. The Bucs picked him in the 6th round, and he became a starter in year 2. Hayes spent 5 years in Tampa Bay, 1 in Chicago, and 2 in Jacksonville before retiring after the 2014 season. Over his career, Hayes racked up 401 tackles, 10 sacks, and 6 interceptions. Tragically, he passed away from chronic liver disease in 2021. Rico McCoy, linebacker. McCoy played college ball at Tennessee and was a 3-time All-SEC player. Despite the collegiate accolades, he was not selected in the 2010 draft. Instead, he played for a few years in the Canadian Football League before hanging him up in 2013. McCoy then got into coaching. As of 2025, he's the football program director at a school in South Carolina. Macho Harris, defensive back. Macho joined Virginia Tech for college, where he quickly became a top cornerback. He had 5 touchdowns over his career, 4 interceptions, and 1 from a kickoff return. As a senior, Macho made the first team All-American roster in 2008. The Eagles picked him in the 5th round of the 2009 draft. He switched to safety and had a solid first season as a sometime starter. He was waived ahead of the 2010 season and signed with Washington. There, he played in 3 games before being waived once again. He did a training camp with the Steelers, but that was the end of his NFL career. Macho played for 4 years in the NFL before retiring in 2016. As of 2025, he's running youth camps and raising his family. Zoltan Mesko, punter. Zoltan was a huge soccer player before immigrating to the States when he was 12. He then became a great punter and signed with Michigan. He was a 2-time All-Big Ten player and a second-team All-American in 2009. The Patriots picked him in the 5th round of the 2010 draft. He was named to the second-team All-Rookie squad that year and punted for 4 seasons. Zoltan always had a monster leg, but could never quite put it all together to become a high-level NFL punter. As of 2025, he's working in sales and has funded several startups. That's just a selection of the second-team guys, but let's jump to the good stuff and get to the first-team offense. Ryan Perrilloux, quarterback. Perrilloux set all kinds of Louisiana records during his high school career, racking up 3,546 yards passing and 1,460 yards rushing as a senior. He grabbed the USA Offensive Player of the Year and was recruited by nearly every school in the country. Perrilloux originally committed to Texas, but flipped to LSU on signing day, becoming the star of Coach Les Miles' first recruiting class. He did a redshirt year to learn Jimbo Fisher's offense, and was the 3rd-string QB behind Jamarcus Russell and Matt Flynn in 2006. He was then involved in some off-court issues and was suspended in 2007, but made it back onto the roster by the preseason. He lost the starting job to Flynn, but got his first collegiate start in September after Flynn was injured. He threw for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns against Middle Tennessee State. Unfortunately, Perrilloux continued to struggle with off-the-field incidents. He played in 12 games and threw for 694 yards and 8 TDs to just 2 interceptions, but after the Tigers won a national title, he was suspended again and dismissed from the program. In 2008, he transferred to Jacksonville State. He spent 2 years there, continuing to run into off-field issues, but winning the Ohio Valley Conference Offensive Player of the Year in 2009 with 2,350 yards and 23 scores. He was not selected in the 2010 draft, but did have a tryout with the Vikings. Perrilloux did a few stints on the Giants practice squad, but mostly played in Canada and the lower-level domestic leagues before hanging him up in 2016. As of 2025, it looks like he's running some training camps all over the country. Jonathan Stewart, running back. Stewart was among the top running backs in the country and also a top sprinter in high school, which played a part in his selecting Oregon for college. He ran the 60-meter dash for the Ducks, but largely focused on football. As a true freshman, Stewart only ran for about 200 yards, but made his impact as a returner, taking 2 kickoffs back to the house for scores and leading the nation in kickoff return average. In 2006, Stewart took a much larger role in the offense, rushing for 981 yards and 10 TDs while finishing in 6th nationally for kickoff return average. He saved his best for his junior season, rushing for 1,722 yards and 11 scores, and adding 2 more touchdowns as a receiver. Stewart made the All-American team in both of his final 2 years of college ball and decided to skip his senior season and head to the NFL. The Panthers picked him 13th overall in the 2008 draft. As a rookie, Stewart formed a dominating duo with D'Angelo Williams. As the Thunder to Williams' Lightning, Stewart ran for 836 yards and 10 scores. The duo continued to split carries through 2014 when Williams left. And while Stewart excelled when healthy, he did miss several games in 2012 and 2013 with various injuries. That said, when he was in the lineup, Stewart, Williams, and a young Cam Newton formed one of the league's best rushing attacks. After Williams left ahead of the 2015 season, Stewart took over lead back duties, helping Newton take the team to a 15-1 record and a Super Bowl appearance. While they lost to the Broncos, they had an MVP quarterback and seemed primed to make several more deep playoff runs. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, and Stewart was released in 2018 as the franchise's all-time leading rusher. He signed with the Giants and played in 3 games before being injured, totaling just 17 yards. Stewart signed a 1-year deal with the Panthers and retired in 2019. As of 2025, he seems to be enjoying retirement, playing golf, and hosting the Ducks of a Feather podcast with fellow former Oregon running back Kenjon Barner. Toney Baker, running back. Baker decided to join NC State for college ball. As a freshman, he ran for 546 yards and 5 scores, upping those numbers to 688 and 6 as a sophomore. He looked poised to have a breakout junior season, but a nasty knee injury after just 10 carries would knock him out of football for most of 2 years. Baker returned to the team in 2009 and ran for 773 yards and 6 scores. He could have gone back to school for a 6th season, but decided to head to the draft. Baker wasn't selected, but did briefly play with the Broncos before being released and retiring from the game. As of 2025, he's working in healthcare. Dan Doering, offensive line. After taking a red shirt, Doering became a solid contributor during his time at Iowa. While not a stud lineman, he did play in most of his games in 2008 and 2009. Doering doesn't seem to have played pro ball outside of a brief stint in a Broncos training camp. The next part I'm not 100% sure about, but from a LinkedIn profile that appears to be him, it looks like he started a landscaping company in 2010 and has been working in that field ever since. Eugene Monroe, offensive line. Monroe did not allow a quarterback sack during his final 3 years of high school ball, which is why he was such a hyped recruit when he arrived on Virginia's campus. He played in all 12 games as a true freshman, largely playing as a backup to Demetrice Ferguson. In 2006, Monroe dislocated his kneecap during camp, but recovered and played in all 12 games with 7 starts. The next year, he again missed some time with injury, but started 11 games at left tackle and allowed 0 sacks. In 2008, Monroe had his best season, making the second-team All-American roster and winning the Jacobs Blocking Trophy. The Jags picked him 8th overall in the 2009 draft. He spent most of his first 5 seasons in Jacksonville, starting nearly every game he was healthy for and establishing himself as one of the team's best players. In 2013, he was traded to the Ravens for a 4th and 5th round selection in the 2014 draft. He signed a new 5-year deal, but unfortunately, he started to deal with constant injuries soon after. Monroe was released in 2016 after missing 17 of 34 games over 2 years. Several teams were interested in signing him, but Monroe decided to retire over concerns about CTE. Throughout most of his career, Monroe was an advocate for removing cannabis from the list of banned substances in the NFL. He has continued that work throughout his retirement, most notably for chairing the Yes on 4 campaign in Maryland to try and legalize cannabis for recreational use in 2022. The vote passed by a 2/3 majority. Alex Boone, offensive line. Boone decided to head to Ohio State for college ball. Over his 4 years, he established himself as a solid starting left tackle, making the first-team All-Big Ten and second-team All-American rosters in 2008. During college, he struggled with alcohol abuse, which is partially why he wasn't selected in the 2009 draft. The 49ers did pick him up as an undrafted free agent. That turned into an excellent choice by San Francisco. After spending 2 years as a backup, Boone became the 49ers starting right guard from 2012 to 2015. Sure, he was never a Pro Bowl player, but he was a solid starter, which is more than you hear about most undrafted free agents. He picked up a knee injury in 2015 and joined the Vikings the next year. He was again solid, but not spectacular, and was released in 2017 after refusing a pay cut. Boone started 13 games for the Cardinals in 2017 before retiring. He then unretired and played in 1 game with Seattle before finally retiring for good. As of 2025, he runs an offensive line gym and does some radio work. Reggie Youngblood, offensive line. Youngblood played college football at Miami. He appeared in 8 games as a true freshman and started 7 at left tackle during his sophomore year. However, he dealt with quite a few injuries that season, hindering his development. Youngblood finished up his career, starting some as a junior and seemingly losing his starting spot as a senior. It doesn't appear that he played professionally, but he has stayed in the spotlight. In 2018, he married Tammy Roman, who first gained fame on the Real World Los Angeles in 1993. She's since gone on to appear in several reality shows, becoming one of the breakout stars of VH1's Basketball Wives when she was married to former NBA player Kenny Anderson. Due to his relationship with Roman, Youngblood has also appeared on a few reality shows, including The Real World Homecoming and Marriage Boot Camp reality stars. Michael Oher, offensive line. Oher is best known for The Blind Side, the Oscar-nominated film loosely based on his life. If you haven't seen the film, Oher came from a very rough home life and was taken in by the Tuohy family. He played high school ball under Hugh Freeze at Briarcrest, a private school in Memphis, and grew into one of the best offensive linemen in the country. To skip forward just a little bit, we'd later learn that some of that story might have been played up by the family. In 2023, Oher filed a lawsuit saying that the family had told him they were going to adopt him, but actually created a conservatorship and then used their legal authority to strike business deals in his name. Later that year, a judge ended the conservatorship, and the Tuohys removed all references to Oher being adopted from their website. No matter how you slice it, it's safe to say that the film heavily dramatized the situation. Now let's get back to Oher's career. He joined Ole Miss for college ball, sparking an NCAA investigation because of his grades and the fact that the school hired Freeze 20 days after Oher signed his letter of intent. Eventually, he got his grades in order, and the NCAA cleared Ole Miss, though Freeze was hit with a few secondary violations. Oher played well throughout his college career, making the first-team freshman All-American roster in 2005, and growing into a first-team All-American in 2008. Despite being portrayed as illiterate in The Blind Side, Oher made the honor roll twice and graduated with a degree in criminal justice in 2009. The Ravens picked Oher 23rd overall in the 2009 draft. While he flipped back and forth between right and left tackle, Oher started every game for Baltimore for 5 seasons, finishing in second for Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2009. He helped the team win a Super Bowl in 2013, but signed with the Titans in 2014. He played in 11 games, but hurt his toe and was released after the season. Oher signed a 2-year deal with the Panthers and had a great 2015, helping the team to a Super Bowl, though they lost to the Broncos as previously mentioned. He spent most of 2016 out with a concussion and was released in 2017 after failing a physical. As of 2025, Oher is running a foundation and has released a memoir. Reggie Smith, athlete. Smith stayed in-state to play at OU. He quickly became a star safety with the Sooners, making the freshman All-American team in 2005. He followed that up with 2 first-team All-Big 12 nods in 06 and 07, racking up 166 tackles and 8 interceptions over his 3-year career. Smith decided to skip his senior season and head to the draft. The 49ers picked him in the 3rd round of the 08 draft. He spent 4 years in San Francisco, mostly coming off the bench and totaling 65 tackles and 2 interceptions. In 2012, he signed with the Panthers, but was one of the last roster cuts before the season started. He endured a similar fate with the Raiders in 2013 and retired from the game. He's been working in sales ever since, most recently with Macy's, as a director of production planning in Arizona. Martellus Bennett, tight end. While Bennett was a top-ranked tight end and a top 10 player in this class, he was also a great basketball player. He declared for the 2005 NBA draft, but didn't sign with an agent to keep his options open. He was told it was unlikely that he'd be a first-round pick, so he withdrew his name and enrolled at Texas A&M. Bennett had a solid freshman season and became a John Mackey Award finalist as a sophomore after catching 38 passes for 497 yards and 3 TDs. He upped his numbers again during his junior season, posting 49 catches for 587 yards and 4 scores. During his first 2 years of college, he also played for the Aggies basketball team, but he didn't play much and decided to focus on football. Bennett skipped his senior season and entered the 2008 draft. The Cowboys picked him in the second round, and he quickly worked his way into the lineup, catching 20 passes for 283 yards and 4 TDs as a rookie. Bennett dealt with injuries during his 4 years in Dallas, but proved a solid secondary tight end alongside Jason Witten. That led to a contract with the Giants in 2012, where he took over as a starter. Bennett recorded 55 catches for 626 yards and 5 TDs, his best season so far. Then he joined the Bears in 2013 and boosted his numbers once again. He had a career year with Chicago in 2014, catching 90 passes for 916 yards and 6 TDs to make the Pro Bowl. That was his last healthy season, though Bennett was relatively effective, at least when he was able to get onto the field for the next few years. He did sometimes butt head with teammates and coaches, but on the field he was far from terrible. Bennett won a Super Bowl with the Patriots in 2016, catching 11 passes for 98 yards in 3 playoff games. He retired in 2018 and has released a few children's books and several rap albums. Bennett's older brother Michael also played in the NFL, becoming a 3-time Pro Bowler and 1-time Super Bowl champion. Fred Rouse, wide receiver. Like most guys on this list, Rouse dominated high school football, but he made the bold claim that he thought he was NFL ready while still in high school. After originally saying he was going to Texas, Rouse started his college career at Florida State. As a freshman, he caught 6 passes for 114 yards and a score. However, he quickly became known for his off-field issues, as Rouse failed multiple drug tests and was kicked off the team after the Orange Bowl. He had another off-field incident where he was caught stealing from former teammate Lorenzo Booker and arrested. Rouse sat out the 2006 season before stepping back onto the field at UTEP. He posted 25 catches for 370 yards and 2 scores during the 2007 season. Rouse left after that year and tried to transfer to Texas Southern. It didn't work out, and Rouse spent 90 days in jail after failing a breathalyzer and violating his probation. He got out in 2009 and enrolled at Concordia Selma College, a small private school in Alabama that closed its doors in 2018. Rouse worked out at Troy's Pro Day in 2011, reportedly hitting a 4.4 in the 40 and impressing scouts. He wasn't selected in the 2011 draft and signed with a UFL team, but was released before playing a single down. Over the next 3 years, Rouse played a bit in the Canadian Football League, mostly with Calgary and Ottawa. Since hanging him up in 2014, Rouse has disappeared from the public eye and reportedly is back in Tallahassee, living a normal life. Graham Gano, kicker. While Gano was born in Scotland, he mostly grew up in Florida, where he became a star kicker. He was also a top track athlete, winning 3 state titles in the 100 meters, 200 meters, and 400 meters. He joined Rouse at Florida State. After a year as the backup, Gano took over punting duties in 2006. He kept punting in 2007, but took over as the starting kicker in 2008. That year, he led the nation in field goals made and won the Lou Groza Award as the top kicker in the country. He was not selected in the 2009 draft, but signed with the Ravens. He lost out on the starting kicking job and spent a season with the Las Vegas Locomotives, kicking the game-winning field goal to capture the 2009 UFL title. Washington signed him toward the end of the 2009 season, and he kicked there for 3 years. Gano was a little erratic as a kicker during his time in Washington, which led to the team bringing in Shane Graham to compete for his job in 2010. Gano ultimately won that battle, but when Washington brought in Billy Cundiff in 2012, Gano was cut and signed with the Panthers. He spent 7 years in Carolina, making 1 Pro Bowl team in 2017 and kicking a career-long 63-yard field goal in 2018, establishing himself as a consistent kicker in the league. He signed with the Giants in 2020 and continued to be a solid kicker through the 2024 season, outside of a few injury issues, most notably in 2023 when he missed 8 games. As of this recording, it looks like he'll continue to kick for the Giants in 2025, though things can change quickly during the preseason. And now for the defense. Kenny Phillips, defensive back. Phillips was the USA Today Defensive Player of the Year during his senior year of high school and was rated as a top 10 player in this class. He decided to stay home and play for the Miami Hurricanes. He made the freshman All-American roster in 05 behind 67 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 INT that sealed a triple overtime win over Clemson. The next year, Phillips continued to play well, but missed 3 games with an ACL tear. He came back in 07 to make the first team All-ACC and third team All-American rosters with 83 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. Phillips elected to skip his senior season and head to the 2008 draft. The Giants picked him 31st overall, and he made an immediate impact. While not an every-game starter, Phillips was consistently in the rotation, making the All-Rookie team. Unfortunately, he missed all but 2 games in 09 with a knee injury. He came back in 2010 to become the Giants' starting safety. He held that spot for the next 2 years, helping the team win a Super Bowl in 2011. However, injuries continued to plague him, and Phillips missed all of 2013 and 2014. With the Saints, he played in just 3 games in 2015 and retired after the season, as his injuries were too much to overcome. As of 2025, he's running a foundation with his wife and coaching his son, who looks like he might not be a bad player himself someday. DeMarcus Granger, defensive line. Granger joined Reggie Smith at OU. After taking a red shirt, the Big DT worked his way into the rotation. He racked up 8.5 tackles during his red shirt sophomore year, earning second team All-Big 12 honors. In 08, he played in 11 games before he had to have back surgery. That caused him to miss all but 1 game in 2009. He was not selected in the 2010 draft, but did do a training camp with the Seahawks before playing in the Arena League for a year. Granger eventually started up a coaching career and is working at the high school level as of 2024. His cousin Danny also played professionally, becoming a 1-time NBA All-Star with the Indiana Pacers. Jerrell Powe, defensive line. Powe decided to sign with Ole Miss for college ball. Many thought he had a chance to be a breakout freshman, but Powe had not completed the required high school courses to start college, so he spent a year at Hargrave Military Academy. After that season, the NCAA again denied his eligibility, so Powe went to Penn Foster Career School for another prep season and returned to campus. Once again, the NCAA denied his eligibility. He attended school on financial aid, but could not practice. Powe finally got onto the field in 08, playing in 12 games with 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and a pick. The next year, he became a starter and totaled 12 tackles for loss and 3 sacks to make the second team All-SEC roster. His numbers dropped a bit in 2010, but Powe still made the second team All-SEC squad. The Chiefs picked him in the 6th round of the 2011 draft. At 24, he was a bit old for an NFL draft pick, but Powe played for 3 seasons in Kansas City, racking up 2 tackles for loss and 1 sack in 12 total games. He signed with Houston in 2014, starting 3 of 16 games and totaling 10 tackles and 1 TFL. Powe spent the 2015 and 2016 training camps with Washington, but didn't make the final roster either season. Since then, he's largely been enjoying his retirement, though he was allegedly involved in some legal trouble in 2023. Supposedly, he and another man kidnapped a third man who had been withholding funds from an investment the duo was making. The guy who said he was kidnapped said the group had to stay in a hotel because the bank was closed. To keep him from leaving, Powe allegedly slept on his legs. If that sounds a bit silly, Powe would agree with you. In 2024, Powe was released after a grand jury declined to indict him for the charges. Kyle Moore, defensive line. Moore was born in Germany, but moved often as his dad was in the Army. He played high school ball in Georgia, where he caught the eye of Pete Carroll and the USC Trojans. Moore was a backup defensive end for USC during his first 2 years, before taking over as a starter in 07. He had 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 2 INTs that year. Moore held down that same position as a senior, starting opposite fellow future pro Everson Griffin. He upped his numbers to 10 TFLs and 5 sacks. That led to the Bucs picking him in the 4th round of the 2009 draft. Moore spent 2 years playing in Tampa Bay, starting 7 of 15 games while dealing with various injuries. The Bills signed him in 2011, and Moore spent 2 more seasons in Buffalo, playing as a part-time starter in 2012 and totaling 3 sacks. The Bears signed him in 2013, but he was waived during training camp. Moore did a final season in Canada with Toronto before retiring. Since 2016, he is split between sales and coaching jobs. As of 2025, he's working in the former field in Florida. Melvin Alaeze, defensive line. Alaeze was something of a unicorn in high school, a 280-pound lineman with reported 4.5 speed. He was supposed to start playing college ball at Maryland, but like Powe, he had some trouble getting his core credits from high school and had to spend a prep year at Hargrave. It wasn't so much an academic issue as much as Alaeze had transferred several times in high school and the NCAA didn't acknowledge some of his work. During his time at Hargrave, Alaeze was solid both on the field and in the classroom, but he began to struggle off the field. He was arrested for marijuana possession in 2006 after a routine traffic stop. One of the passengers took the blame and Alaeze walked, but Maryland pulled his scholarship. Illinois coach Ron Zook took a chance on the former high school star, bringing him into training camp in August '06. He played in 2 games but continued to struggle, missing classes and consistently showing up late to practice. He was diagnosed with clinical depression and left the team. Back in his hometown, Alaeze went through some treatment, but eventually started hanging out with a man named Khalees Thomas, a known violent criminal in Baltimore. He introduced Thomas to his high school friend Princeton Macer, who was allegedly a drug dealer. During the meeting, Thomas shot Macer 4 times, but the man survived, potentially because Alaeze let him run away, while Thomas was rifling through his car, but that has never been substantiated. Either way, Alaeze and Thomas were later arrested during a traffic stop and charged with attempted first-degree murder, first-degree assault, armed robbery, and 8 other counts. Alaeze was facing 25 to life and entered a plea bargain to lower his sentence to assault in exchange for testifying against Thomas. He was given an 8-year sentence in 2007, effectively ending his football career. Unfortunately, the last thing I could find about him was in 2009 when his appeal was denied. Now this is a little bit of me putting some pieces together, so take this with a grain of salt. But I believe his sister Alaeze played college basketball at VCU. To be clear, they might not be related, but they were both born in Baltimore, and in a video about her life, Alaeze does mention having 2 brothers, both of which played college football, and one of which had a lot of trouble with the law. Again, it's a little circumstantial, so if anyone has any more information, I'd love to hear it. Either way, he eventually got out of prison and, according to what looks to be his LinkedIn profile, was last working for Amazon as of 2024, though again, I could have the wrong guy. Travis Beckum, linebacker. Beckum decided to stay in-state and play football for Wisconsin. He played linebacker during his freshman season, appearing in 10 games to make 2 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. Ahead of his sophomore season, Beckum switched to tight end and had a great season, catching 61 passes for 903 yards and 5 scores. In '07, he was even better, grabbing 75 catches for 982 yards and 6 TDs. He made the first team All-American roster and won the Ozzie Newsome Award as the best tight end in the country. Beckum looked primed for a big senior season, but broke his legs after 6 games, ending his college career early. The Giants picked him in the 3rd round of the 2009 draft. He spent 4 years in New York, mostly as the secondary tight end to Kevin Boss. While he never became the star he was in college, he did help the team win a Super Bowl in 2011. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL during that Super Bowl, so he wasn't on the field for much of it. After an injury-plagued 2012, he was released. Beckum was on the training camp rosters for the Seahawks and Saints in 2014, but didn't make either roster, ending his pro career. After retiring, he spent a few years in sales, but as of 2025, he's working in business development with a focus on sports and entertainment back in Wisconsin. Rey Maualuga, linebacker. Maualuga was born in Oklahoma, but moved to Hawaii a few months after. By the time he was playing high school ball, his family had moved to California. He joined Kyle Moore to play college football for Pete Carroll and USC. Maualuga was a great linebacker from the jump, earning freshman All-American honors. However, he did tend to party a little too hard, resulting in a misdemeanor battery charge after getting in a fight at a Halloween party. Maualuga agreed to attend counseling, participating in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and do some community service in exchange for having the charges dropped. Those alcohol struggles didn't completely go away just yet, but they did fade into the background, while Maualuga dominated on the gridiron. In 2006, Rey took over for injured starter Oscar Lua and didn't look back. He made his first All-Pac-10 team that year and was nominated for the Butkus Award. The next season, he made another All-Pac-10 team and won Defensive Player of the Game at the Rose Bowl. He saved his best year for last. As a senior, Maualuga was named the Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year, a unanimous All-American, and won the Chuck Bednarik Award as the best defensive player in college football. And by the way, that linebacking core also included Brian Cushing, Kaluka Maivia, and Clay Matthews, giving USC one of the deepest position groups in college football. All four were selected in the 2009 draft, with the Bengals picking Maualuga in the second round. He started every game he was healthy for as a rookie, missing one game with a dislocated elbow and racking up 64 tackles, 1 sack, and 3 forced fumbles. He largely held down the starting middle linebacker spot in Cincinnati through the 2016 season, totaling 584 tackles, 4 sacks, and 7 interceptions over his 8 years with the team. The Bengals released him in 2017, and he signed with the Dolphins. After just 6 games, he was released following an arrest, ending his pro career. As mentioned, the alcohol struggles hadn't gone away. Maualuga was charged with drunk driving in 2010 and given a 7-day suspended jail sentence and 2 years probation. In 2017, he was arrested for battery after shoving a nightclub employee over a bar tab dispute. That's the incident that led to his release from Miami. In 2020, he was again arrested for drunk driving while in Kentucky. The next year, he was arrested a third time for operating a motor vehicle while under the influence, along with counts of criminal mischief and wanton endangerment. He spent 120 days in jail and completed an inpatient substance abuse program. Fortunately, Rey got his life in order after that, and as of the time of this video going up, he will soon be celebrating 4 years of sobriety. Nowadays, he appears to be enjoying retired life as a dad. Ryan Reynolds, linebacker. Reynolds was born in Arizona, but became a national name at Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. He decided to join Granger and Smith at OU, which may have played a part in his high school teammate DeMarco Murray joining the team the next year. Reynolds mostly played on special teams as a freshman, but was scheduled to start in 2006. Then, he tore his ACL in the spring and missed the entire season taking a medical redshirt. In 2007, Reynolds played in 13 games, recording 60 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 INT. He was hit with another injury in 2008, limiting him to just 6 games. Reynolds came back in 2009 to rank 3rd on the team in tackles with 79. He petitioned the NCAA for a 6th year after going through 3 major knee injuries in 5 seasons, but he was denied. Reynolds didn't initially consider an NFL career given his injury history, but tried to make a comeback in 2012, 3 years after finishing his college career. In a fitting but unfortunate end, Reynolds tweaked his hamstring during OU's 2012 Pro Day, ending his pro career before it started. Since then, he's become a major Hollywood star and is married to— wait, no, that's the other Ryan Reynolds. Our guy has left the spotlight and is living a normal life. Brian Cushing, linebacker. As mentioned, Cushing joined Maualuga and Moore at USC. He took a little longer to get started than Rey, but Cushing's defensive versatility made him a weapon that Pete Carroll and his staff could move all over the field. Over 4 seasons, he racked up 178 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, and 1 failed onside kick attempt for a touchdown. In 06, Cushing made the second-team All-Pac-10 team. As a senior, he improved to the first team while also making the 2008 first-team All-American roster. His stats might not be eye-popping, but NFL scouts loved how easily he moved around the field, making plays wherever he was positioned. The Texans picked Cushing 15th overall in the 2009 draft, and he was shot out of a cannon as a rookie. Cushing racked up 133 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 4 INTs, and 1 safety. It was one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen for a defender, and Cushing was rewarded with the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year and a Pro Bowl nod. Ahead of the next season, Cushing was suspended for 4 games after it was found out that he'd taken performance-enhancing drugs. He did retain his Defensive Rookie of the Year award in a revote, but the Associated Press took away his second-team All-Pro status. In 12 games, he totaled 75 tackles and 8 TFLs. Ahead of the 2011 season, he switched from outside linebacker to the inside and had another solid season, helping the Texans make the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. He was named a second-team All-Pro behind 114 tackles, 8 TFLs, 4 sacks, and 2 picks. 5 games into the 2012 season, Cushing tore his ACL, missing the rest of the season. He signed a 6-year contract extension with Houston, making him the 3rd highest paid inside linebacker in the NFL. However, he was dealt another injury blow after 7 games, missing the rest of the season with a broken fibula and torn ligament. Cushing came back in 2014 to have a solid season, but his return was slow due to injury concerns. He made his full comeback in 2015, putting up 110 tackles and 4 TFLs as Houston again made the playoffs. Cushing suffered another torn ligament in 2016, but still played in 13 games. Then he was suspended by the NFL in 2017 after again violating the league's performance-enhancing substances policy. He retired after the season as Houston's all-time leading tackler. He started working as a strength and conditioning coach for the Texans, but it seems he is helping coach his son's team down in Houston as of 2025. Justin King, defensive back. King joined Penn State for college ball, following in the footsteps of his stepfather Terry Smith, who played for the Nittany Lions in the late 80s. As a freshman, he played on both sides of the ball, rushing for 227 yards and totaling 11 tackles. The next year, he took over as the team's starting cornerback, making his first career interception against Ohio State, snapping Troy Smith's 153 attempts without a pick streak. King made the second-team All-Big Ten roster that year. As a junior, he was a first-team All-Big Ten player, and he decided to skip his senior season. The Rams picked him in the 4th round of the 2008 draft after he ran an impressive 4.31 in the 40 at the Combine. In the first preseason game of his career, he tore a ligament in his big toe and missed his entire rookie season. He made it onto the field in 2009, starting 7 of 15 games and totaling 36 tackles and 1 fumble recovery. King only played in 8 games in 2010, but was back in the starting lineup in 2011. That year, he made 58 tackles and recorded his first career interception. He signed with the Colts ahead of the 2012 season, but was released after just 5 games. The Steelers picked him up at the end of the season, but he never saw the field and was released after the 2013 season. From 2014 to 2017, he did some scouting for the Browns and Penn State while earning his master's degree. In 2019, he helped launch the XFL, but left in 2020 after the mid-season cancellation due to COVID-19. He then opened up his own sports advising company, where he's still working as of 2025. Demetrice Morley, defensive back. Morley left Florida to play ball at Tennessee. He played sparingly as a freshman, totaling 15 tackles and 1 interception. In 2006, he became a starter after Inky Johnson went down with an injury. He racked up 51 tackles, 2 picks, and 1 blocked kick, mostly playing strong safety. After the 2006 season, he was dismissed from the team over academics and spent a year in community college to get back onto the Vols roster. He made it back onto the field in 08, playing in 11 games and finishing with 42 tackles and 2 INTs. However, when Lane Kiffin took over in 09, he announced that Morley was dismissed from the program once again. He entered the supplemental draft, but never played in the NFL. Instead, Morley spent the next 5 years playing off and on in the Canadian League, mostly with the Calgary Stampeders. As of 2025, he's back down in Miami and runs a landscaping company and does some youth coaching. Justin Brantly, punter. Brantly decided to sign with Texas A&M for college. He averaged 44.4 yards per punt across his 4-year career, making the second-team All-Big Ten in 2007 and first-team roster in 08. That yards per punt number puts him in second in school history behind Shane Lechler. Brantly went unselected in the 2009 draft. He signed with the Texans soon after, but was released before the season and never made an NFL roster. Brantly briefly played in the UFL in 2010 before hanging up his cleats. As of 2025, he's working in sales back in Texas. And that wraps up the list of the 2004 All-USA players. I'll be back in a few weeks with the 2005 list. But while you wait, why don't you check out this video about Adrian Peterson and the 2003 crew.